Hello, people. So we were right. Everyone else seems to have lost faith in us apparently, but we were definitely right. And even though I wasn't here, I did predict. We all predicted a win, a very convincing win. And it's time to gloat, people.
Not
It's
Willow.
time to gloat.
Hmm?
I mean, Willow is
I predicted a 1-0.
incapacitated today. He's incapacitated, but he still predicted a win, so I will give it to him. But
No,
apparently,
I'm
we were going
talking
to get
big, bro.
smashed.
I'm talking big.
Talk,
Everyone
talk.
kept
Let's talk
saying,
our shit, bro.
no, because I got people going on my notifications saying, look at this guy giving the Vim. And, you got to respect the prediction power of this, okay? 3-1 on the dot, on the nose. And, exactly how we were saying. Blowout in the first half and a consolation goal. And, it was just so easy to see. I'm killing it at this point because it's like, you're sitting there and you're trying to listen to people logically, and there was no way that they were winning that game. No way. Not a chance in hell. And Ndombele couldn't get past 30 minutes. Unbelievable. You're sitting there, people are coming there telling me, oh, I got to be worried about Ndombele and Højbjerg. Boys, they got to worry about staying off the chips. That's what they got to worry about, Like, it's ridiculous. I don't understand it. And then people are telling me Kane with straight face. People are saying I'm biased. Come on. This is not the same game. This is not the same Kane. This isn't biased. Let's just talk facts about the game. Like, we're going to get into it. Sorry, Kern, I'm stealing your flow, but, like, this is ridiculous.
Go for it.
I'm sitting there getting Vim from people online saying I'm just, talking optimistic for no reason. No, there was a bloody reason that we were going to sit there and smack these lot like the little boys that they are. Come on. It's ridiculous. I don't know, man. I'm just glad people get to see it. Predictions on point. Job done. Let's go.
It's very simple. There's so many different performances. I mean, Heung-min got sunned by Tomiyasu. There's lots of different ways of looking at it. Kane got whited out. It's very simple. We had people getting completely owned all over the pitch. That narrow 4-3-3 didn't work. They got we
got
wide.
Stupid Nuno. My big boy Nuno is like the godchild of Lucas Moura and Nathan Redmond, and we've got them trying to do Liverpool light. Okay, right now we've got 3-man midfields, while we've got Højbjerg kind of sitting down with the center backs, holding his hand with Dyer, and then we got Ndombele just for vibes. Poor boy, he lasts a good 25-30 minutes and he just chills kind of on the right wing. What was Ali doing? Ali doesn't want none of it. Ali looks dead. Ali looks dead from his explosiveness.
Early, same as Bellerin.
Yeah,
Bellerin because
they look dead. And you know what? The only one, to be fair, and I'll give props for props is due. The only one is Lucas Moura. That's the only player that can sit there with their heads held high on that performance, and not even held high, just like, hey, bro, I'm here. I just here so I don't get fined.
Only starter, I think. Skip came on and did.
Skip played well. He involved himself in the game, but I don't know, man. Like, we stopped.
But they made him skip the first half.
Bro,
why do we need to? We finished.
It's exactly how I said it's going to happen in Norwich. We're going to flip in the first 20-30 minutes, and that's it. We'll just give up because you know what? We're too far ahead in the game.
There was no need to go any further.
It would happen.
No, it wasn't.
The same first half against other teams, but I just thought the efficiency against Tottenham would be there, and it was. We were mad efficient.
Wait, you didn't think so? Oh,
I did. I just said I thought in comparison to the other games, obviously it was good.
I was gonna say, bro, and you know what? I love narrative. You know what? We're gonna go into the specifics of this game because you know what? At the end of the day, there are so many narratives that got held. Okay, Granit Xhaka worried about the midfield. My boy's involved in 2 goals right now, and you know what? Anyone who's kidding themselves that he doesn't add something off the ball is absolutely crazy. You're going through Gabriel. Okay, everyone keeps telling me that Gabriel struggles, defensively, or rather he's really poor progression-wise. Gabriel's responsible for beautiful between-the-line passes all game. He's been showing his improvement in short to medium range. Unbelievable. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, I thought he was finished, right? Apparently he was finished according to Twitter, not me. Kept telling you, man. Expect 20 goals. Expect that. And he comes in with probably his best performance, most complete performance to date. I've seen him score goals. I've seen him press at times. But you know what? This was a man who was coming in, linking, dropping play. And you know what? To cap it all off, the boys that said that they couldn't score goals and had no output were the epitome of attacking efficiency. The hail and talents that at the end of the day, we got to put in Pepe for goal threat. Boy, what goal threat are you talking about? Come on.
No. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this very quickly. Pepe, 1 assist this season off a lucky ricochet off the post against Norwich to get tapped in, right? In one half, both ESR and Saka have took over his goal and assist threat. Bro, you can stat pad against Dundalk all you want. It's not going to change the fact that you're going to get sunned every day if you're going to come for bloody.
Speaking of getting
ESR
sunned, Tomiyasu comes on and absolutely shuts down this man. Huge.
Exactly.
By the way, there's only a couple left wing tests left. There's only basically Antonio and Rashford, who I'm really worried about. But you know what? This guy is insane. And you know what? Last little bit of praise before we start getting into specifics and stuff, and we're just going on rants now at the beginning. Freaking Aaron Ramsdale. Aaron bloody Ramsdale. And you know the amount of I told you so's that I've got in my pocket for people that were sitting there telling me this man doesn't have good distribution. This man can't claim crosses. This man, you know, is poor in shot stopping. Give me a break, bro. Come on. Don't sit there chatting shit when you don't know. Just sit there and do some due diligence is all you need to do. And look, that's enough of emotional rants for me. We'll get back to objective stuff, but I've got some crazy receipts for people on the timeline because you know what? Shame on you. Shame on you guys. Just watch the game. It's crazy.
We all do. It's mental. Like, I think well, obviously, we've now got out the emotion. Let's just start talking.
Let's go objective. I'm back. I got my tea in.
I think we all did. I mean, let's start talking how we started. So that back line of the back five that we all wanted to see, the front three we all wanted to see, and the midfield pair we all wanted to see. It was literally the perfect 11 we all wanted. And I had people coming into my comments going, "Oh, but this manager won't pick Tomiyasu. He'll pick Leno, and he'll pick one of these he'll pick Chambers or something."
He said the dead manager won't pick Ramsdale or Tomiyasu next week. That's exactly what he said. He
guarantees it, right? Oh God!
Look, you know what? No, what I want to talk about really, really quickly is like we talk about the back line, but let's talk about the tempo that Ben White set to start off the game. Okay, very, very early on, 2 seconds in, we see Ben White going to ground, setting an excellent slide tackle on a breaking Sun. And you know what? That sets the tone to the game. And not only that, there's a guy now that's been criticized for his aerial incompetency, which is just hogwash. Okay, are there things he can work on? Sure. Can he jump earlier at times and timing of his jumps? Absolutely. But, you know, he sat there and he dominated Kane. And that first 15, 20 minutes or so, you know what? Extend it to the 30 minutes because he was on Harry Kane's ass the entire time. Every time the ball came near, boom, hit him. Every single time. And, you know, that kind of mentality, we knew what Tomiyasu would give us because I feel like everyone that's seen him now is comfortable with him being a 1v1 duel expert. We've won 14 out of 16 aerial duels. He has yet to be dribbled past in the Premier League. And, you know, in terms of his ground duels, I don't remember the exact numbers, but they're similar.
14 to 17.
14 to 17. Yeah. So when you're talking about it, they're both at 90%. So we're talking about an accomplished defender, probably our best 1v1 defender compared to potentially Bakary Sagna. I haven't seen a right back that we've produced like that until maybe Sagna. So in terms of 1v1, we're happy. We're calm. That back line, we know what it can do technically, but look, the way that we kind of built up through that press was just absolutely beautiful. And it was the dominant performance that many sat here questioning that we had. And when I talk about a spine, Kern, this is what I mean. You know, when you've got Ben White, who's going to hit you from behind. And by the way, he was sending long balls and releasing Bukayo Saka. People that, you know, think that it was just kind of off the ball that he had a good game. Ben White had an excellent game. I rewatched and I just didn't see enough praise for him. And look, I know that we're all excited and we got the big heavy hitters and we'll talk about the Hale End boys, but I just felt that those two, Gabriel and Ben White, just controlled and manhandled that kind of space. They squeezed up the pitch. And the reason that our counterpress was so effective, by the way, was because this defensive line was so quick to their marker and so high up the pitch that they could squeeze the space. And every time a ball came anywhere near, boom, hit, and the second balls were won. That's where this kind of area of dominance really started. And when you have that current, that allows you to be on the front foot, but that's a way of you dominating your space. So when we talk about spines and what they do and what they give you in 1v1 duels, it's not just, oh, I'm going to win my 1v1 tackles and isolations. It's what the confidence you give to your team saying, look, no worries, guys, we'll give the ball right back to you. That's transition control. That's what that is. And that's how we were able to sustain attacks. And I feel as though this game just gave you, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but like when you start from the back, okay, and I've been saying it for how many freaking months, that when you have technical security in the back line, what does it do? It improves your chance creation. It improves it. I'm sorry that it's not a direct link. I'm sorry that you don't see your 10 goals because you didn't get your striker, but it absolutely helps your creativity and fluidity through the thirds. Now, is this something to go overboard about? No. But you can see a sustainable plan to employ, not just in other top 6 games, but something that you can see to kind of employ in other games, period. So winning the ball back and our kind of stamina, which by the way isn't great. We saw again that we gassed, right? We all saw that, and we'll talk about it later on. But the fact that we can start strong and build that base, Curran, we're going to start to win a lot more first halves, which by the way, under Arteta, we haven't been able to do.
No, it's been the second half. Yeah.
That is the difference that a spine gives you. So when people, and I keep telling people, a spine mattered, that was the context, those are the little things. And I hate to be that guy that, talks in intangibles about winning your duels and those classic coaching tropes. But this is how we actually dominated the space. That's how we dominated the game. And look, Nuno was poor. I heard a lot of crap that, there was a lot of space in that Tottenham team. Well, guys, sorry, there's a lot of space because we drew them out with our buildup. Don't give me that crap that they were so bad that the spaces were just big because they were idiots. No, we brought them out. That whole second goal is actually a good press by Tottenham. It's a good squeeze.
Yeah.
It's a very controlled squeeze of the space. And
sure,
look, Ramsdale gets
unlucky.
He did. He got unlucky. It was a very good thing. But I want to highlight that piece of play, and I'm sure we'll go on. Sorry, Curran, but like, who is marking Emile Smith Rowe? People are sitting there telling me that Tottenham left spaces in their midfield. I'm sorry, who was marking? It was Tanganga, or supposedly, freaking Emile Smith Rowe. Yeah, go ahead, Christina.
I was saying, as you can tell, oh my god, I just realized. Anyway, so Xhaka was squeezed by I forgot who it was, but Xhaka was squeezed by Højbjerg, and went to Tierney. No, it went to Emile to Tierney.
When Emile to Tierney to Oba, who drops deep, by the way, carrying in Davinson Sanchez, drawing him in, and who is marking Emile Smith Rowe, which is, by the way, Tanganga's responsibility, who he freaking leaves. Okay? And I'm tired of people sitting there that we didn't draw at those gaps. That wasn't Tottenham failing to run back. That was us with good build-up play, which, by the way, we've done on lock for so many times. How many times have you seen the Tierney root ball into the 9 who lays it off to the wide space and they exploit a 1v1?
It's like
it's
clockwork.
Freaking clockwork. If you're sitting there asking me what are our attacking patterns, it's bloody that. Like, I don't know. I just saw the plan to perfection. I highlight that piece of play because I think idiots on the timeline that are sitting there saying that Tottenham just gave us the game are horrifically wrong. Were Tottenham poor? Absolutely. But Arsenal made them poor. That is the key part of the sentence that you have to adjust to, because at the end of the day, we were the ones that made our own luck. We were the ones that made those spaces. And sure, if they didn't fill in, that's shame on them. But, they were already passed, I think, 5 or 6 times beyond the goals where Odegaard was beyond their midfield. Forget getting back and the spacings towards that. We had already breached their midfield 5 or 6 times, and we were just cutting through like butter. So, yeah, I love this game, man. This was just a blueprint, a window to what we can do with this back line and what the structure is.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I'm gonna get to Z next, but I'm gonna say a couple of things. So that first half, you could see that the game plan for Tottenham was, okay, we're gonna win second balls. We're gonna put Kane on White because he's bad in the air. So we're gonna put Kane on White, get him off the physical defender, and win second ball knockdowns. You see how high Ali is. You see how high they tried to get on Ndombele, except he couldn't get forward because his hands were on his bloody hips the entire time. So if you look at how we're going to how they actually went to get how they wanted to play, they wanted to try and play. Okay, Højbjerg will be the last man. We'll play interiors, and we'll play off the front man, the target man. Nuno Espirito Santo has blood on his hands. He made Johan Cruyff turn in his grave with that performance yesterday. That 4-3-3 was one of the worst 4-3-3s I have seen implemented in a long time. You have slow, fat players trying to run past Harry Kane. You've got Dele Alli, who's more concerned about his dreads than his football, and you've got Tunga and Ndombele, who's just. I haven't seen a guy play with that standard of fitness, with that standard of
Since
commitment to the
Lukaku
team.
2018.
Since Lukaku 2018. I was going to say since the 90s, but Lukaku 2018 is fine.
But but honestly though, on that, sorry to go back onto that Smith Rowe goal, but I've just seen back like a screenshot. I'll show you guys, but the screenshot of when Smith Rowe first touched the ball to give to Tierney. So that's Smith Rowe there.
That's what I'm saying. He was there. He was marking him. He was close.
Then Tierney passes to Aubameyang.
Mm-hmm.
And
so they're level. They're level right now.
And once Aubameyang gets the ball, Smith Rowe is gone.
And by the way, why is Eric Dyer not filling in for Davinson Sanchez? No, these are basics of football, guys. So I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, you know what? We weren't, Tottenham weren't very good. Guys, come on. Like these are basics of football that Oba brings in his defender, draws in his marker. We know Davinson Sanchez loves to follow the ball. He loves to ball watch. And you know what? Oba did an excellent touch, like perfect touch, which he, by the way, never gets his flowers for, but he's been doing since freaking Newcastle away, since last year. And you know what? This year, people are starting to see it a lot more. But you know what? This guy had a huge performance, and I'm just tired of hearing the fact that he's done, or the perceived fact that he's done. Sorry, go ahead, Z. I was cutting you off.
No. I was completely agreeing, because when you even look what's on the screen right now, you would think that if Tottenham went out and played Arsenal on Saturday without, was it Saturday or Sunday? Anyways,
Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday.
It was Sunday. Yeah, if Tottenham went out and played Arsenal, same game but without Nuno, and they just went just without any tactics, I think they would have done a much more better job than they did with Nuno's instructions. I don't know what he was thinking. I feel like he was trying to, from where I was sitting, it looked like he was just trying to close the gaps, so we couldn't pass between the lines. But what happened was our movement was so good that even the positions that the Tottenham players took up, we, because we had an extra man, we could obviously surpass them and go to the final third, and get a shot. And we did that so many times against Spurs that it was actually, I feel like by the time the half finished, I feel like we couldn't have had a better performance against Spurs after that.
I think we could. Go ahead.
That goal, it is partly Nuno, but Nuno isn't responsible for them two being next to each other.
Just gonna say that
ending up like this. That's not Nuno. That's Tanganga sleeping.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, obviously, there are individual errors here, but if you look at the way that he set up that, if you're going to play 4-3-3, you have to realize that you're sacrificing some form of transition control, because the whole point of doing a 4-3-3 is to press high and to retain the ball via sustained pressure to create attacking opportunities via turnovers and things like this. That's the whole reason why you play a 4-3-3. And once you're beat, you have to realize, and you have to coach your centre backs. Look at Dyer and look at Sanchez here. Like, if you look at them right here, you can see that they're. Look, I don't know who's on the near side. I think that's
Saka's all the way down there, right?
Yeah, he's right.
So the issue, guys. I want to keep this still, because I think we talk about central overloads, and I want to be very specific, because I feel like sometimes we do tactical buzzwords kind of on the timeline, and so I'm going to break it down very, very simply. When you've got a 3-man midfield, your spacings in those midfield have to be small. They cannot be big. So when you've got something like this, when you've got a 4-3-3, okay, the fact that there's no Højbjerg even near Odegaard, Oba, or even the halfway line, that is the issue. That is the issue right now. So look, there's a fault in terms of Tanganga, there's a fault in terms of Davinson Sanchez, cool. But Højbjerg has to be in front of Aubameyang here, because Dyer's going to fill in to go and try to meet Emile Smith Rowe. And so is Davinson Sanchez. They're going to try to overload there. But if you don't have your DM who's close, You then have a stretch. So now those gaps in midfield, they're no longer really a 4-3-3. They're basically a 4-6 because no one is in the midfield here. There's a huge gap. There's no one there. And the point of a 4-3-3, when you talk about central overloads, Curran, the big thing there is that you keep the spacing tight between the three midfielders. If you open that press, they're isolated. Because that one DM pivot, and this is the one thing that, I'm not a fan of the 4-3-3, but this is what happens. Like, this is the worst that can happen to you against a 4-3-3. Because this is what, when you beat the first press, you're isolated. You always have more 1v1s. And by the way, those 1v1s, they don't happen wide, they happen centrally. That is the issue with a 4-3-3 that's not implemented properly. And this is what Nuno did. And so you don't have players that are willing to commit to their assignments, commit to their roles, and then you kind of get this. You get these breaks. And guys, this was happening all game. It wasn't just a second goal. It was happening for 30 minutes. And yeah, they were just so poor. And we highlighted in the preview, we said a B-Tech Liverpool with shit players that are going to get absolutely pressed off the park. And guess what?
Yep.
That happened.
That's exactly what happened. You know what it is the other thing for me is why I think Nuno is so at fault here is that he clearly has a double pivot midfield and he's played them 4-3-3. Like Ndombele, his best play was in a pivot with Husamawa. And
also Ali, by the way,
Ali is a 10.
I cannot understand. So Ali, for me, it's not, and he's more of a second striker. For me, he's one that floods the box. So creates times where you're very compact centrally, but just let the man crash the box and he'll score. That's all that you got to do. Don't let him wide. He was touchline way too often, and so you ended up having Højbjerg. I know he's not here now. This is horrible, but he was with the center backs, right? And then you had Ali, who was supposed to complete your three, but was touchline. And then you had Ndombele that was probably in the most consistent for a little bit, but then he gasses out. So then he doesn't engage in his defensive duties. But that is no longer a 4-3-3, Curran. That's basically what we talked about. It's a 4-6 because everyone is vacating the center, a 5-5 because Højbjerg's dropping back. So look, it was horrible. But I kind of want to get back to us in terms of what we did well, because I'm tired of people and rivals saying that Arsenal didn't deserve the win and Tottenham were just poor and it was handed to them. No. Arsenal made them poor.
Before we do move on, I'm just going to say there is another team that is going to finish fifth that also uses a 5-5, but that's for a different day.
That is. And I don't know, maybe just to quickly address Yo-Yo's comment, because I actually disagree in terms of struggles in midfield. Burnley don't carry this same struggle. No. They're very compact centrally. They've got poor transitional threat inside, but they are not this open. They're very, very different games. And in fact, their 4-4-2 press was 10 times more organized than Spurs. If you're talking about them being weak centrally, I probably agree. But in terms of, the compactness, I think they're very, very different setups here. And they're very, very different game states, which is what makes me excited. Because you got Norwich, at the end of the day, who, I think they're quite poor all the way around, to be honest. But they were a very easy team to beat. But, Burnley were far more impressive than Tottenham and Norwich because of the way that Sean Dyche organizes 4-4-2 and how they press aerially. And you know what? We met them. So, look, I'm just very, very happy because we've now got a sample size of different teams with different strengths and us succeeding in those areas and setups. So, yeah.
Before we move on to the second half and before we talk about other things as well, I just want to mention, so after 3 games, we're on 0 points. Okay, everything is rubbish. Not one member that is on this screen right now faltered. We said the same thing. We all said 4th. We all said, just Chris said 3rd, but that's neither here nor there. But the point is, the point I'm trying to make is that if you're going to judge you're going to judge a season of a 3-game transition when, 1, you have a COVID outbreak 2 or 3 hours before the actual game. You have your entire spine out against. You're playing Pablo Mari against Romelu Lukaku, and he gets owned. If that's Gabriel, it's a different issue. And then we have City, where we literally had the same thing happen, 5 players out. And then 3 games later, all of a sudden, I see Arteta headers with that picture of him going crazy at the. Just everyone take it down from a 10 to a 5 or 6, because there's constantly people going like this, and there's no need. everyone knows we're going to finish top 6. I would say 4th or 5th
Not
personally.
Trust
I
me.
know. No, I know, but people with sense, people who aren't dumb,
No,
think
Kern,
that
I'm gonna go one step further because people are sitting there asking me, why do you believe this way? And we kind of talked about the structure, and this game is absolutely a prototype and a picture for you about what's going to happen when you're able to pick your starting 11. And you know what? That quality doesn't drop with Sambi Lakanga. That
no,
quality doesn't drop with, Granit Xhaka being able to miss. Now, it does with the Thomas Partey. It does with the Gabriel missing. It does with the Bukayo Saka missing. By the way, I'm very purposeful because all 3 of those were missing against Brentford. The games that everyone particularly slams them for not winning. And when you have every single one of your technical leaders in every single phase of play missing, of course you're going to struggle. Of course this happens. I saw a stat in terms of, Adam Vogue, and I would check him out on Twitter. We use a lot of his stats here, so I want to give him his due. But in the last 3 games, in terms of Norwich, Burnley, and Spurs, the last time that Arsenal recorded over 100 shot creating actions per 90 was back in 2017. So in terms of sitting there and saying that, this was just narrative in terms of the opposition that we faced, that's really wrong. That's going back 3 reigns, 3 different groups of players, the last time that we were producing that level of creativity. So when you're going to make that kind of criticism, you have to be fair. If you're going to sit there and nitpick the first 3 games and be outraged, which you can be, but I always said, look at context, but I understand the outrage. Then look at the next 3 games and duly apply your
have the same
flowers.
energy.
Have the same energy. That's all I'm going to say. Now, in terms of looking for things forward, I get it. There's a lot of factors that we've got to consider when we talk about our projections. But when you look at this game and you look at this team, I'm sorry, even if it's Chelsea, if it's any other opposition and we play the way we did, the speed of play, the movement, and we do the exact same things, I very much think a very similar result happens. I got shades of Chelsea 3-1 from this game.
I wish we played Chelsea again. I wish we played Chelsea again, man.
Yeah.
Mate, I do as well. And you know what? It's just because I feel there's so many improvements. The one improvement, we talked about White, we talked about Tomiyasu. Okay. I ironically actually think Kieran had probably the worst game of the starting 11, in my opinion. I think, but I think he's getting back up to fitness. I'm not slamming him. Like, no one's bad on a day like this. I want to, contextualize, but I think he was probably among our worst players if I really had to pick. Yeah. But Gabriel really impressed me, guys. Like, this guy is becoming a huge leader. I already said he's our defensive leader in the back line, but in terms of this guy organizing, yelling, I think he's taking up that David Luiz leadership mantle. And I just couldn't be happier because we really do need a leader in the back line. And as much as I love Ramsdale and how vocal he is, we need somebody higher up the pitch to organize the press. Absolutely. And just Ben White right now, you can tell he's just not comfortable with the group quite yet. And he hasn't been accepted in terms of his, essentially his belief in himself. And so right now we needed somebody to take that void, and Gabriel's doing it. I think beyond just being a leader, he's really improved his short and medium passing range. So what I really noticed in this game, his gait, or how he opens up in terms of receiving balls, both on the outside from his dominant or his non-dominant foot, have completely changed. You could just tell that the coaching staff, have worked hours and hours and kind of himself off in the summer in terms of just getting it out of his feet faster and setting it in one fluid motion. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but so many times he controls it and sets in one fluid motion. And that is elite in terms of setting himself up for the marginal space to execute those small passes. And so he did it all in one fluid motion, and then he had increased disguise on his between the line passes. I counted in the 6th minute and in the 15th minute, he fires off into Oba in the left half space channel. And he nearly scored, and he did it both of those times. And you know what? Those are huge elements that we didn't see with Gabriel. He was very front-footed in terms of his long ball, and he had almost this kind of chip to his long passes, where it was almost like a golf chip, I called it. There was a lot of backspin. Like, that's how he handled his long passing range. But here there was a very clear effort. I don't know if you guys agree about being on the ball, quick and disguised through the lines. And I just feel it adds a whole new dimension. It makes me increase his specific projection because I felt that was a weakness of his. And it just, you know what it was, guys? It was composure. I kind of had this debate on Twitter. I made a post about it. But, the big thing that I just saw was composure in terms of how he handles his duels, but also his passing, which is what I felt was rushed. which is what I felt he had to work on kind of after the summer. And I'm seeing improvements. And so this guy really is starting to excite me. And look,
I do
I
agree
can.
because I was even me like with the like he has this weird reverse disguise pass where he opens up his body like he's gonna go mad long when
Mm.
he's on the floor, and I've been sending people videos of him doing it a couple times this season, like all week and stuff. But I think our whole back line do like aerially were quality. They barely got dribbled past. The only fear I was even scared the whole game because we put them to bed after 35 minutes and their fans started leaving. But even when they turned the pressure on, even when they turned the pressure on, there weren't even many mistakes. Like their goal came from us sleeping after Xhaka went down. Like 30 seconds after Xhaka went down, they're still playing on, still playing on, still playing on, and they score. But even before that, Kane missed a lot of chances. He looked abject, like he didn't care at all. Son tried galvanize the team with his goal, and none of the players were up for it. Like all round, I think it was such a great performance. And Ramsdale made one of the best saves I've seen so far this season.
Yeah, bro. And and I used the word compose just in and out of possession because I felt like we controlled space. So the big takeaway that I take from this game is when you talk about authority, you have to talk about controlling space, especially because we're a positional team, right? Like that's the very basis of it. And so it talks about in or out of possession. But the one thing that I just looked at was no matter what situation, these guys weren't fussed. Like whether it was Ramsdale isolated, whether it was Tomiyasu isolated, the fact that he's ambidextrous opens up so many passing angles. The amount of times he would carry up the pitch, cut back to Odegaard or Saka, and we'd recycle possession. The amount of times that he overlapped too. Like there were times, I've got so many Twitter arguments that he's just an inverted right back. He's not just that. He joins the attack, and that flexibility that he gives us is just it's a cheat code. It really is because it's not the traditional Pep system. It really isn't. We vary in terms of when we have both fullbacks overlapping and when we don't. Tierney is consistently pretty high and wide, and our left wing is always a facilitator.
Yeah.
But when Odegaard drops into the middle three, like we kind of talked about this, Karan, like the cycles is that Tomiyasu will go wide in that scenario and it moves Saka in. If Odegaard doesn't do that and Partey is the one carrying up, then Tomiyasu stays back. Then you see that kind of three at the back. And those switches of attacking patterns, I use it just because I think it lets the opposition have a degree of variability to us, where we finally are opening that right-hand side a bit. And while I slam Odegaard a little bit more than maybe he deserves, he allows that transition very well. And that's the one thing that I'm going to look at, because without him and without really Thomas Partey, we can't attack centrally. That's the one thing that we lose.
So how I'm going to sum that up is very simple. So what it does is it gives us more variability in the attacking patterns, because we have this reputation around the league where we build up on the right,
we're left side
build, and then we release our left side. So Tierney someone will cross ball it to Tierney, and then Tierney will hit a cross in, or will overload on the right and then hit a cross in to the box from the right. I.e. Chambers versus West Ham, perfect example. So what Tomiyasu gives an opportunity to either go 3-2-5 and go, okay, so you can have Tomiyasu play in that 3. So that's the standard way. We have Tierney going up, and we have Tomiyasu.
Which, by the way, Karan, sorry, just because you're talking about Tomiyasu in the back there, the one thing also that it allows is it makes Granit Xhaka not the third center back.
Literally what I was about to say. That's literally what I was about to say.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead then, mate. Sorry.
Literally, word for word.
Because that for me is the biggest change. He's no longer that guy that's defending space, okay? And he's actually able to replicate the 8 Switzerland rule in theory. It is a bit of a hybrid. I think we get too nitty gritty. You know that about me.
Numbers were great is
we really do, but fundamentally, he's not in those positions to be isolated anymore, and he's a lot higher up with numbers. And when you have Granit Xhaka with options and numbers, that boy can progress the ball fast.
We said this from the start, though, from when Tomiyasu got bought. We said this was going to happen, that Xhaka moves into midfield now. And because a lot of people, when you see his progression stats, and he had the most balls into the final third of any player in the league, people are saying, just because he's on the left wing to Tierney, it's an easy pass. And from the start, we said, once Tomiyasu comes in and we have then that back 3, in possession. Xhaka comes centrally, and let's see the excuses they make for his numbers this season.
Which,
Him
by the
and
way,
Partey,
wasn't he leading our XG buildup at the end of the
by
day,
far.
despite going off? Like I think he went off like 20 minutes, but I think he by far led our XG buildup for those that maybe
It
don't know
wasn't even
stats.
close.
Yeah, and just for those that don't know stats, like XG is basically how would you describe it? It's basically a way
Quality
the
of
location
chances.
and quality of chances they do, but it's more about location. I have a lot of issues with XG, but I think it's basically where you're getting your chances and if that's likely to score. That's essentially what it is. And when you talk about build up, it's basically those that contribute to chances that you're likely to score in.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way I can explain it. So he was responsible for our most amount of passes contributing to those type of chances. And that's not by design, guys. Like this guy does it and bangs them out. He's probably among the best in the league for doing it. And it's why I get frustrated when we talk about partners and future stuff, and I won't get into it in terms of what facilitates Thomas Partey. You have among the best in the world in that profile. So anybody that you're going to replace him with is statistically insignificant of a difference. This guy is already among the best. He's in the 90th percentile for these roles. So if you don't like him and you don't like that, you're saying you don't like that pattern of play. That's all really that I'm trying to say with it, because I feel as though Tomiyasu does that, Kern. Maybe I stole that from you, sorry. But that's the biggest difference that I've seen right now, that Xhaka can go up a little bit more, and we're going to miss him, guys. We are going to miss him.
The point I was going to make is you actually have Xhaka being a deep lying playmaker. You actually have him being a playmaker instead of actually being an auxiliary defender. He's not going to be languishing at left back, or he's not going to be sort of contributing.
Isolated.
Because yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at, I mean, there were games where he did excellently. Like, do you remember Sheffield United away when we played him and Partey together, and he sat in that back three fine, and Ceballos actually had a good game for once. Like there have been games where he's played well in it, but it's not a case where you want Granit Xhaka being a covering defender. He doesn't have the pace for it. He doesn't have the ability to be a one-on-one duelist in that defensive role.
He doesn't have a lot of horizontal agility, right? I think he's actually got excellent off-the-ball positioning, and when you look at maybe his comparison in Sambi Lokonga, who has a lot more horizontal agility but lacks the positional awareness. That's literally the difference, and he ball watches a lot. Granit doesn't ball watch anymore. Look, I still think he was also a little bit, to be fair, I don't want to praise too much, because I felt in the first half he gave the ball away quite a bit, and he started doing those 2-footed jumps, and he does that when he's not fit.
Yeah. No,
it was very clear that he
fun.
And he, I think the big one for me, was it Højbjerg? It was in the first half, and there was a very clear picture. He goes 2-footed in, and so I'm like, okay, you're not fit. I understand that, because you tend to see that more when he's not fit, and he gets kind of worried. I call him a firefighter.
He doesn't have that short-term burst. That's why
he doesn't, and he wants to hit you and almost injure you so that you can take him out of the play. Now, I don't like that, but I think that's the logic for what he does, just to give people some understanding of it.
That's why a lot of people like him do the same.
Exactly.
Profiles, they slide in.
They either slide in or they do that, where they're jumping 2 feet in to hit you. But it's just, he did have his faults in the first half. I did want to maybe contextualize it. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't. Partey, I have other thoughts. That guy was crazy.
That pass, right? That one pass. Do you guys remember that one pass where he literally just pinged it from, I think it was one side to the other. I think it was a 60-yard ball. I can't remember who got on the end of it. But I just was looking at that ball what is happening right now?
No, I did that to Tierney for time, man.
Yeah. That ball was.
Our front five for me, Odegaard was probably the worst on the ball, but off the ball, he was probably the best
in this game. Yeah, absolutely.
In the team, he's probably the best. He was the best player off the ball, probably. Him or Tomiyasu.
He led that press.
He was running
on the ball. He was losing the ball at times, but still, that front four was special.
For me, what Odegaard needs to do now is probably make more penetrative passes through centrally, because I feel like he doesn't do that enough. I feel like he passes a lot wider than
he hangs on to the ball, doesn't he?
And it kind of annoys me, because there was quite a few times where Aubameyang was just making a run centrally, and he could have just made a through pass, but I don't either he doesn't have the confidence to do it, or he just, I don't know.
He can
Sometimes
definitely see it. He can.
yeah,
The
exactly.
vision is great. He
Or,
can see the ball.
Guys, it was 100% the
Yeah.
fact that like he was smashed a couple minutes and he was doing turnovers and he was losing the ball in the first 10 minutes. If you go back, Odegaard was actually really poor in contact, which is always something I worry about him. But as the game went on, he became a lot more secure. But in that opening 20 minutes, he lost the ball a lot in build-up and also in terms of contact from behind. Like Højbjerg robbed him a couple times of the ball.
Son robbed him as well. That's how they got their shot.
Exactly. So I think he was very poor, like you said, Chris, on the ball, but off the ball, he was excellent. And I think as the game went on, he did tired, right? Like people were citing that we went to a 4-5-1 press. No, that was because Odegaard got tired and he wanted to join and drop in with the midfield, which is calm. Like he did so much work. I'm not hammering him, but I'm just saying in terms of looking at that positional play, let's be clear. Overall, that system is a 3-2-5 in build-up, right?
Yep.
It's a 2-3-5 in transition. And when we get caught in transition on the defensive, it's a 4-4-2 block.
It's a mid block as well.
That is our structure. So I don't want to deviate from that. It's always going to be the case. We may have slight alterations where you got an Odegaard and a Burnley role, okay? Mm-hmm. But those principles are going to be the same. And look, Odegaard, I think he had probably the most pressures. It looked like that way anyways. I don't have any stats to do it. But he absolutely probably had the most pressures. And I think there's different ways to press guys. Like the only thing I wanted to say is I wouldn't say that Odegaard is an efficient presser. I think he presses well and he's a great presser, but he's not efficient. And what I mean by that is he will block space and he'll run to you, but he won't get the ball and he won't tackle. Like if you combine the tackle percentage with his engaged pressures, it's probably really high on the engaged pressures, but he doesn't have a high tackle percentage. And that just means that he runs and he blocks space, which is excellent. It's a role, but he doesn't necessarily rob you of the ball in that process. I would argue if you look at Thomas Partey and you were to compare a similar chart, he's in that tie diagonal of that because he's able to press, but also win the ball off you. But just knowing what type of player you have there, he was perfect for this role because then you've got Thomas Partey behind him, Tomiyasu behind him, Saka behind him, so that if he does get tired and somebody does beat him, you have three excellent ball winners. That I think is my big point to support him, and that's why it works.
Do you think he goes back to the pivot once because Xhaka's out?
Yeah. I think he maintains with the pivot. To be honest, I think El Neni comes right back in.
Exactly, I think it's El Neni. I don't think it's Lokonga, dude.
I don't think so either. I think it goes.
I think it's on Neni,
and he's shown that he works excellently with Thomas Partey because that's what he
United away.
That's what he does.
United away. It just makes perfect sense to put.
We'll talk about look Brighton. He might get away with it, guys, only because Basuma just came back, but they're missing Welbeck and Webster, which are really their front and their back references, and so their press is going to be so disjointed. So he could get away with it with Lokonga, but I agree with you, Kern. I think the move is to do El Neni, and like I said, I actually see Granit Xhaka being a 4 to 6 week difference, so I think it's basically 1 or 2 games.
me and you, buddy. Me and you, we're here together. Like, I'm just going to say this right now. I cannot wait for Brighton because I cannot wait for the meltdown when El Neni gets on the starting lineup, and then he drops him and Partey, because it's so predictable. They always so play predictable.
Well. It wasn't even that though. For me, the biggest meltdown, which not scrambled my head, but I knew it was coming, was the Xhaka. When Xhaka started, the meltdown was crazy. Then after the game, people are crying that he's injured. That didn't make any sense to me. The same people that were telling me I'm crazy for wanting Xhaka to start and not Lokonga were the same people complaining to me when he got injured. That made no sense to me, but he's part of our best 11 and our best 11.
So the biggest thing, though, guys, is I think when you talk about Thomas Partey and you look at a midfield pivot, so people are maybe questioning, like, maybe not Ainsley. Ainsley for sure is not coming in because Ainsley replicates the Thomas Partey role. Even when he's come in, he played almost like a 10 in a lot of his cameos. He's the one that was pressing higher up, right? And he was the one that was the more advanced of the two in midfield. Whereas Lokonga, if anything, in Burnley, we actually saw it for 20 minutes, right? He was the one that kind of went a little bit deep, so he potentially could be in because of you got to look at Thomas Partey, and I hate explaining this again and again, but he's not a lone six. He's not the guy that we necessarily want picking up from the center backs. Can he do it? Of course, he's a world-class player, but that's not what he's best at. He's best at firing balls into the zone 14, and so when we saw Burnley, Lukonga was able to do that, and Thomas Partey was fire up. And that's what allowed really the centrality in our attacks in Burnley. And when you notice those 1v1s. So look, it could be Lukonga just in profile. So just think, in order to have somebody that is matching that role, somebody to pick up the ball from the center backs and build up, but that can stay up and, really be a anchor-ish to Thomas Partey, that's the role that you're looking at. So that fits Elneny, that fits Lukonga potentially.
George, you know my CM pick for next year, so you understand why I want Elneny instead of, because the thing is, if you have that defensive security that Elneny does provide, hate him a lot about his passing range and whatever, it allows Partey to be, as you said, that zone 14 ball contributor. It allows you to be that central post in build up, and actually he can come centrally. Or you could have him drift left or drift right, and Ødegaard fill that alternate space and build up. So
you know what it is, Curran? It's this, because the only reason I say this is we had a perfect example of what Thomas Partey advance turns into in transition, and that was the sun shot in the first half. Does anybody remember when we did lose the ball in possession? Thomas Partey slots in at right back. Okay. Guys, this is the future of this team. And I don't know how many times I have to repeat it to people, but we will see this at the left side and on the right side. Okay, Thomas Partey in transition will become a pseudo fullback. We've seen it. And by the way, he killed it to us against Atletico Madrid. So in terms of us looking at that phase of play, that's where he's best. He's not going to be the central anchor that everyone wants to dictate tempo. That's not what he's going to do. Like, when you talk about orchestrating a build-up, I think people get caught in the weeds about who's orchestrating, because they always feel that orchestrating is picking up the ball from the center backs. Do you know what I mean? Like, they always feel that role is the one that's progressing. That's not true. Progressing is the one that's really going to get you from your first to your second phase. And that person that just picks up the ball from the center backs isn't necessarily the same person that's getting you into your attacking space. And so those are very different roles.
Perfect example is Ben White. Ben White is one of the most progressive centre backs in the league for a reason. He's not the centre back he's not playing in that sixth role. He's playing as a right-sided centre back who progresses the ball to the point where you can enter your second phase and enter your attacking build-up.
Exactly.
It doesn't. A six doesn't have to be a progressor. Like, we have. I think people have got into this notion that you have the likes of an Andrea Pirlo, or you have a Jabi Alonso, or these types of players, and these are the guys that do the progression, and it's just the sixes.
Yeah, Curran, mate, I just prefer people say, look, I'm a bias to somebody that prefers that type of player, and I'm like, cool, calm. If you like that, I understand it. But like, if we're talking about structure and who is ahead or who is behind the ball, like, it's not as rigid as something being black and white of somebody always having one role. But fundamentally, Partey is higher up. Like, when we have the ball and when we're dominating, whether it's Burnley, whether it's Spurs, I think a big reason why we had this stuff is because Xhaka and Partey know when to push up and when to go down. They have a very good understanding of who presses high up and who doesn't. And that depends on the side of the ball, by the way. It really, really does. Like, if it's on the right, we have Ødegaard and we have build-up people that, Partey doesn't have to do it. But guys, go back to Burnley. He can do it. And in fact, when he does it, he adds a different dimension to us in terms of what we can attack centrally with. And I think that's the next phase of this team. So maybe to bring it back to Spurs, because we went on a little bit of a tangent, but that's essentially the reason, I think, for the success of our first half, right? We had a really good structure. We had a back line that was quick to recovery. So you squeeze the pitch and you've got a big counter press. Those are like the big things in terms of when you're analyzing why we saw this increase in attacking efficiency. And guys, we haven't even talked about Emile Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka, who deserve their plaudits, because I felt this was Emile's coming out party to the fan base. So he's had a lot of cameos, and of course he was so instrumental last season. But I felt this was the first time I saw authority in his play. And so what I mean by that is really his goal. So when we talk about kind of La Pausa, and a lot of tactico people on Twitter like to call that, but for me it's just tempo control. So when Emile Smith-Rowe bursts into kind of the space on that second goal from Aubameyang, right? We've seen him attack space like that. You know what it was? I don't know if you guys slow it down, but do you know that Emile scans really quickly before pausing and then crossing the ball to Aubameyang? Guys, he's not doing that mature-wise last season. He's taking the ball and doing a low cross across the kind of the face of the goal. That's what he's doing. No, this was a mature performance where he controlled the tempo, and that was a playmaker like that. And I want to really highlight that piece of play because I think that's the difference between Emil this year and Emil of last year. When you're looking at improvement and how he feels as part of the team, that is it. He had his moment in the sun. Look at how Saka celebrates and compare it to Emil. Emil kind of is like, oh my God, I can't believe I scored. It's my first big one. Saka's running with just cockiness,
Yeah.
Saka
that
did
freaking.
slide as well, but it wasn't the same.
No, I know, but
Just
he comes in, he's like, yeah, I'm the big man. I'm the one.
yeah, just yeah,
I-
just to quickly just talk tactically about Emil. So what impressed me about Emil's goal, not his assist, but his goal, was the timing
Yeah.
of his run. It was the
Yeah.
timing, the timing that what if you look at why I think Tifa covered this as well. If you look at why Arteta preferred Odegaard, is that he makes that late run to the box very well. He makes that he gives you that like for example
crashes the box well,
he
yeah.
crashes the box well, like like a Spurs goal, like he crashes the box very well. And to have Emil coming up behind defenders out of eye line and popping up into the perfect amount of space because they got caught ball watching, or both of them, Sanchez and Dyer, they got caught ball watching. They vacated the space in front of them, and it allowed for Emil to make that late run. So if you have players that are able to crash the box with effectiveness, and you can have simple balls played into the space, then you're laughing. You don't even. We're not worried about who it is. It
It's
doesn't
that
matter if
next,
it's Obo, whatever.
yeah, it's that next step for me, Curran. So like when I look at Martinelli and I compare the two, okay, and I love these talents, okay, but when you're looking at it, Martinelli is somebody that's on all the time. Like this guy, like he just knows to just keep sprinting all the time. Emil has added this variation of when to sprint. The reason, by the way, look, Tanganga's ball watching, it's horrible, yada yada. But the timing of when Emil turns on the jets is very important to that play working. Like it's so intricate, it's so mature. That is tempo control, and that is la pausa. And people normally associate with dribbling, but really what I talk about is tempo control. I know when to speed up and slow down the game. That is my definition of it. And that is what I think Emil is adding into his game, and that's maturity. So that for me makes me very excited. Z, I'm worried about you, mate. I think that bet's going to be very, very difficult to maintain.
To lose. That's what I was saying. I'm very happy to lose. And to be fair, even even during the game when I saw Emil Smith Rowe play, I felt like I was watching a different player. I felt like I was watching a mature player that
a man.
Exactly. And I feel like I think he's been onto it and he's been looking at some of the criticism that he's been getting on the timeline, and I think he's taken it a lot personally, and he's out there to outscore outscore a lot of players and bring up big numbers, because I feel like that's what he's going to do. He's already on what two goals, what
3 goals and assists for the season.
Exactly. So there's there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to get more than 10 goals and assists this season for sure.
And you know what, mate? Too, like the big thing is, guys, this was coming. How many times did we say in preseason, "Oh wow, he looked like he's taking shots. This guy's going to explode this season." Like, guys, this was so easy to predict. And when you start adding in the physical development of this kid, it's going to be scary because he's a ball striker. I don't think people realize that he's very much going to turn into a Madison type of profile. This kid is going to have an elite ball striking technique.
Much more dynamic, though.
Yeah, that's way more dynamic, way more involved. And that's why he's so special. Like, this is why I actually think, and I've said it before to people, I think Emil has the highest ceiling out of any of the Hale End talents, where I think both are going to become excellent. Like, Bukayo is going to go to the very top of the game. But I think Emil could not just go to the very top of the game, but could be the very best in his position. I think there's going to be more competition for Saka at right wing or at left wing. I think there's more competition for wingers. But this unique 8-10 hybrid, this kid literally doesn't have a weakness. He does defensive. He has midfield control. He has weak foot, strong foot, crossing in and out. The boy has stamina. He can counter press. Guys, there's really not much that, Emil needs to learn. It's more about just saying, look, I hope that body catches up to his brain, because when it does, not if, but when it does, scary.
For me, quickly on Emil though, for me, like he has all that, but Saka has a lot of stuff as well. And for me, what puts Emil over him, I just think he has this it factor. Even the rivals, we're talking about it this weekend. Emil's that guy because Saka's been our best performer for months now, but
Hmm.
rivals never really like acknowledge it. But Emil does this in a big game, and even rivals are talking about it. So for me, I just think he has this weird it factor that people are drawn to him. Saka has something that people love about him as well, but I just think Emil's the guy.
It's
He's
because
more aggressive, isn't he, in terms of how he takes his chances? And Saka, I don't think. Look, I think he's going to become an output machine. I hope people don't get it wrong that I'm hating because I'm not. I still think he's going to be absolutely immense. I say he's world class, and I say it with chest. I still believe he's world
Third best
class.
winger in the
Um,
league.
and he's going to be up there in terms of top three. I just think Emil brings so much to the table. You know, this guy could be left wing, attacking midfielder, attacking eight. You know, he could do a job like, as a false nine. Like this guy has it really all. And I'm just very worried in terms of Awar. Look, they're slightly different, to be honest with you. I think
Yeah.
really with Emil, he's a final third quality
Yes.
output right now. And I think Awar has that extra little bit of being a second phase controller as well. That's the difference between the two right now. We've seen Awar do it with Ndombele in the pivot against the Centurions.
Yeah, he dictates tempo.
You know, he dictates tempo, and he's. I hate to do this because I feel like I crash on Odegaard, but he's what we should have really got, in my opinion, especially location. He's a combo of both. He doesn't sacrifice your final third output with his second phase controller tendencies because he has the very similar pre-assist vibes. But if you start looking at his stats this season, he's got probably the highest. I think I sent a stat to the group where he's now got in the top 5 leagues the highest XG but no goals in the top 5 leagues. So this guy is on the precipice of exploding. He's going to get a ton of goals. Look, I don't know, Z, you're more of the transfer guy on this, but to me, there's one player that we need in January that could really put us over the edge. I don't believe that we look at a Basuma or that level of investment in January, but maybe I'm wrong.
I wouldn't mind it, but
I wouldn't mind it at all either. But
oh,
I think Awar, he fixes so much, like in terms of just future-proofing this squad and getting Emil out there because look, guys, I think this kid's going to explode. Like, Emil's going to be the first name on the team sheet with Saka and Aubameyang, by the way. So, like, it's up to you for the third spot. And
But the thing is, why? I'm just waiting to do this. So, I mean, the question is, what profile do you compare him to? So,
to Emil,
I compare. No, Emil is for me
Ricardo.
is more in. I would actually call him more the Jack Grealish profile more than the actual than Hosamawa in a creative left wing who can drift inside or can go outside, interacts with your left back, tries to get balls into the box, tries to provides that final ball, that final action output. I don't see him as a pivot man or dropping deep. I see him further up the pitch. I don't see him dropping.
Yes.
He can.
I think Grealish is probably the best comparison for him in today's game, but he just has much more.
I push back. He's a
Grealish.
combo between Kevin De Bruyne and Grealish. Like he has both.
Yeah, that's true.
And the thing is, he's
much
also,
more.
But guys, he's also better on the right. Like I don't think people understand. Like when you watch him in the academy, he always overlaps to the right.
Even Huddersfield.
Yeah, even at Huddersfield, like he has a tendency to go to the right. He's instructed to do a role at left wing. That's why he's there, and he does it very well. But guys, this kid overlaps, and he loves. If he has a free role, he tends to go to the right. That's what he does.
Not yet, though, CK.
But on Emil, but Emil though on the right, like a lot of people didn't watch him at Huddersfield, but in Huddersfield, a lot of his goals and assists came from him darting through the right and just whipping a ball across the floor to the whoever the left winger at that time. But I just think in comparison to Grealish, I think they're similar in obviously the low socks, the England, the number 10, the dribbling.
That's lazy. That's just lazy.
He's much faster, and I think he's a better passer, and he loves 1-2.
He's a straw dribbler. That's the only thing that I really love about with the Grealish comparisons, because he'll pick it up and drive with 60 yards. He looks like he's running downhill. That's
what I disagree with the Grealish things, because even though I did mention there is things. So for example, Grealish, a lot of Grealish's game is based around picking up fouls, just trying to advance the ball as whether it's be provoking a dead ball situation or trying to
Emil will take
dribble
it around you.
Emil will just go past you. He just
Emil's better in tight spaces, but I think
Yeah.
in space they're very similar and very
They are.
powerful.
Yeah, they are.
Very powerful, but
But guys, look at the names and the look at the
stronger.
names and the traits that we're doing, though, guys. Like that's just. Do you know how scary the potential it is where you start to include better in tight spaces, faster feet, which he does have. Look at Chelsea.
Just faster in general as well.
And he's just faster, period, which is crazy to me. And this kid's what, 21, isn't he now?
Yeah,
or is he
21? 21
Okay.
in the summer.
Okay, so guys, look, we just got a burgeoning superstar. We probably should go to the second half because it wasn't as great. But
No.
I just feel, for me, and we'll probably go to it, but he was my man of the match, personally. I'll go early because this guy is, he's crazy. He really is.
He's special. He even, for me though, what set him apart from maybe everyone else? Because I think there were people that were close to him, like Tomiyasu, Ramsdale had great games, but I just think the run for the goal was great. The run for the second goal was great. But I just, in general play, he was everywhere on the pitch.
Chris, I think that goal goes down in history. Like you know how Thierry Henry goes the Southampton goal. Current. I mean, you're old enough, you know. Like that was the goal. That we took off.
I would more compare it to the Van Persie one. Do you remember the Van Persie one?
Yeah, I do.
No, because the thing is,
they're like career starters. That I guess is what that's what my point is.
What the Thierry one, if you remember the goal, it was kind of more like, it was a bit of like an acrobatic sort of. He was trying.
It was long overdue too. Like it wasn't long overdue. One, you know.
Whereas Van Persie, it was just he was like trying to. He's being brought into the team, and he's finally getting his chance.
No, but his big goal was long overdue because a lot of people have been talking about. I've been questioning him, and he was involved in literally every. He would have had 2 assists if it wasn't for Harry Kane aiding his England teammate Saka. But 2 assists and a goal. He would have been involved in everything, but Harry Kane had to step in and say, "No, bro, I need this assist."
Anyway, I don't know. I feel like we should probably go to the second half. But
second half.
I feel like Emil, he deserves that plaudit because a big thing is when you look at him. I don't think he gets talked about enough in the league. By the way, he doesn't get that respect yet. And the same people that were saying that Saka was barely going to be involved in the England setup, Arsenal fans were like, "No, he's going to make the spot his own." That's the same energy I'm having with Emil right now.
Not even our fans. Our fans said he was going to hold bench the entire tournament.
No,
it was only us. It was only us.
Exactly.
It was literally. It was only man like us.
I know.
I shout out a few accounts like our
guys. Emil, by the way, you can clip this up. He's 100% making the England squad.
It's not even close.
Like it's not even an out there take. But I mean, this kid,
he's going to be there.
Yeah, and I don't know, Saka, by the way, I'll just end on the Hale End. That's 2 goals and assist for Hale End, who had no output, I thought. Whoops. But Saka looks to be back.
3 goals and assist, actually, because they both scored in second.
Yeah, it was each 2 goals and assist each. So it's but he looks back, guys. That's the big point I wanted to make. Like, Saka got that arrogance back.
Someone
I think
else got it back as well.
It's time to start.
Yeah. Bro, I'm taking my flowers because how many people gave me shit for saying that he wasn't back, he's dead, he's done. Come on, you fools! You
literally,
fools!
We were talking about. Do you know what?
154 games. Hold on, 154 games, 90 goals and 20 assists. You know how stupid that is? 110 goal and assist contributions in 154 games in our state. Come on.
Yeah, but for me, what made me happy and annoyed at the same time was. Obviously, for the ESR goal, for his goal, in fact, that layoff the ESR was beautiful, but it made people say, "Oh, Oba's link up is good now." We've been talking about it since
for time.
First game of pre-season.
Alba looked like a striker that I want. That's the profile I want.
Yes,
literally.
Complete 9 link.
Yeah.
But the difference between him and Laka is if Laka makes that pass, Smith Rowe, he doesn't make it to the box in time.
Exactly.
He doesn't. Oba's just fast enough to do it. Laka doesn't make it. But it's good that people are finally giving these players their flowers, which they've deserved for a long time now. Because Oba, he has 5 goals now in all competitions. five goals now in all competitions, 3 versus.
No, I'm just facts, man. I don't know. Look, I'm sitting here because I received a lot of shit, and a lot of us did for our table. Okay,
Oh,
and we sat
I'm
there.
still getting it now.
I know, and we had a lot of shit from our predicted table. And look, we finally saw a performance that you can maybe see what we're thinking in terms of how this is going to go. And look, Aubameyang, a fit Aubameyang, and that's what I said in the video. A fit Aubameyang helps fire us over the line. And you know what, guys? I think he needed this. You know, he needed that that like moment. You know what I mean? It's not even just a goal, because the goal was the goal itself, like,
Yeah,
it was a
he's
loose
kind of
connection.
scuffed it, but it could have gone corner.
But just the fact that he does that celebration, you know, Chris, and he gets that storyline. That's what
Everybody's
this guy.
talking about it.
Yeah, that's what he needs, and he's back smiling. And I hate to be that asshole that talks about the soft factors, but man, go to his interviews, go to, like, you know, he's smiling and enjoying his football again. And at one point, I always tell this to my strikers too, by the way, like when they're in trouble and they're not scoring, right? You want to keep the same movements, but I always say, look, mate, you got to give yourself to the team so that you can get the chances. So, you know, you're sitting there and you're annoyed that you're not scoring comp, but you got to sit there and make your own chances. And he did that yesterday. You know, he came in, he helped, he contributed to the team, and the team gave back to him, gave him chances. And this guy, he scores goals, man. He scores goals.
Yep.
Like the lunacy that you don't give him chances and he doesn't score was such stupidity on the timeline. Give him this back three and watch him flourish. That's all we'll say. Probably second half we should start talking about.
Yeah,
I mean, on Albert, look, this for a bit, because I'm going to move it to the second half. But the last one I will say is that first half is the epitome of the phrase sustained pressure is the holy grail of attacking creation. That's literally what that first half is. We sustained pressure, we overloaded where we needed to overload, and we created chances through sustained pressure. And that's the model. That's what you're trying to create, and that's how you create goals, XG, whatever you want to say. But now, let's move on to the second half, because it's finally time to talk about the second half. So, a couple of things I'm just going to get out there. So, one, I think the substitutions were too late. I think way too late. I mean, we were already on the back foot. It should have been. I think we should have tried to go for Lokonga for Xhaka way earlier. Obviously,
I actually didn't. I don't know if I sent this in the group chat. I wanted Ainsley, yeah, because I was going to say, Skip, to his credit, he did affect the game, like 100%. He got involved. He was sticking in his position, and you know, he gave them some thrust in midfield. And I felt as though, look, Xhaka was tiring. Odegaard was dead. And so I kind of wanted us to have somebody else with that pressing presence. So you know what he was offering us in the first half? I needed some more thrust. And so, yeah, I felt by the 65th minute, I would have introduced Ainsley to kind of see out the game, because he's been good. He's been great in cameos. I don't know. I want to bring in Z, because I feel like me and you really agree on this. Like, I feel as though he was the guy, and I think he was late. You know, do you agree with that? Or?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But to be fair, like when I was watching the game as well, you could my only eyes were on Saka, man. I could see Saka just walking and walking for like 10 minutes. I felt extremely sorry for him, because you know he wanted to be on that pitch as much as everyone, but his legs gave up, man.
Adrenaline dump, eh?
Everybody, all of our players, not all of them, but
the team did.
Most of them gassed out. Emil, Saka, Odegaard. Emil showed it less because he can do it, but everyone else really, really gassed out. And Tottenham were never getting back into the game, but Tottenham tried to get some hope anyways.
But they gave them possession, or not possession, but like control, essentially.
They did give them possession, though. They had 60% possession the second half, but
they did. But it was like they gave them the spaces that we weren't giving them in the first half, and we kind of sat back a bit. People were retreating. We didn't have that same verve from the back line, too. Like, people weren't, you know, rushing in to smack people from behind again. And we let them back in a little bit. I still think that goal was jammy. I really do.
It literally,
it was.
If it wasn't for copyright, I'd show the goal, but Xhaka goes down, it goes over, and Saka commits to.
And they stopped too, by the way. Did you notice? Everyone stopped.
Yeah, to Brian Gill. They're all waiting for the ref to call it, because even Mora is attending to Xhaka.
Yeah,
he's attending to Xhaka, but the ref doesn't call it. It goes over to Regular, and he puts it in for Song, and Ramsdale nearly saves it. It's a goal, but after a lot of people were scared after that as well, no?
I
Because
know.
just before that, Kane had a good shot. Ramsdale parried and Tomiyasu got out. So they had some sort of pressure. But I just think
He
the
was
first
pressuring
half,
bad areas though, Chris. Like he's taking a pop shot from outside, and I'm happy to take
from
it
like
every day of
25
the
yards,
week.
yeah.
Yeah, calm. Do that all you want. Tomiyasu does good on the rebound though. Like that's smart, engaged
Yeah.
play. Like we
Ramsdale
don't
was
see
so
that.
happy with him. So
Yeah,
happy.
Yeah.
because you
For
know
good
what it is,
reason.
Chris. For good reason. Chambers, Cedric, and Bellerin do not do that. I think that
What
he
happened to
lets
my
the
boy,
blind
man?
side. He comes in and he lets it go. But look, Tomiyasu, man, you know what's crazy with that kid? Like, he doesn't fit any. Oh, I hate to do this, but he fits zero stereotype of, an Asian player. He's so physical. They're always switched on, but this guy is he's a warrior. He really is. And like, you can't get past him. And he's always diligent about his job. He's always marking. He's always
And he's always
aware.
listening, though. Always
Always,
listening. If you
always.
watch that bench cam, it was always coming over to Arteta, just getting instructions and stuff. And he was so good, man.
He
My
was
man
so
was just
good.
my man just did some racial scouting there.
Because I think Partey gets it the other way, where they don't say that he's an orchestrator and he's not responsible for build-up, which is
He's a
foolishness. And then he's a DM, foolish.
Next year, we telling me Party's a DM. Come on, man. That's
Oh
what the
God, bro. The amount of stuff that I've been seeing on Twitter is crazy. But I don't know. I think this kid deserves a lot of credit too. By the way, like coming from Japan, like he's away from home with like no compatriot, and this guy comes from the Serie A, and I said it on the last stream. How many successful Serie A exports have there been?
I remember that last.
Yeah, and not even just
we
that.
Had no one.
No one. He legit could be among the very first Serie A exports because Henri doesn't count. That guy came from France. And
had no Italian take it to the next level. Well,
yeah, like literally
Zola maybe. Zola's, but he was
Zola maybe, but it's so meek. Like the list is meek, and this guy has come in to absolutely the hardest league in the world. And guys, he hasn't been dribbled past. Do you know how ridiculous that is in the number of games that he's done? Like not one, and he hasn't faced scrubs, guys. Dwight McNeil is not a poor player.
He ran away.
He switched flanks, and by the way, Son did too. He had no joy, so he did that. And by the way, Norwich, their best player, Solus. Guys, he didn't face scrubs. Like these were very, very good tests. Literally, Rashford and Antonio are the last two tests in the league, and guys, he's done. Like he's done everybody in his first season.
Antonio isn't even playing as a left winger this season either.
No, he's a striker, but
he drifts.
But he drifts, and and he drifts.
He does drift,
and he drifts on the left too, right? Or which is our right. So so like he'll face him. But yeah, I think like the next phase, guys, is probably just consisting of more control in terms of. I think we retreated and we were just too tired, but that should have been controlled possession, in my opinion, as opposed to a block and then break us down. That's the next step.
There was multiple factors though. You're going to come on.
I think when you're on that much of a high,
it's tough.
Hard to motivate the players to keep running.
For sure.
Three don't pass them in 30 minutes. That what more do I have to do at that point? And I think our players need to maybe flick a switch or make a change, because I think if you make a change early onto a motivated player, then you see a difference.
That's on the coach for me, mate, because I don't blame the players. That's an adrenaline dump in terms of the situation, and they need an injection of pace. Like you need a Martinelli to press for nonsensically for 30 seconds.
For Emil and Xhaka maybe should have come.
That was my change, and I was Martinelli and Ainsley, because for me they just add verve into the second ball winning as well. Like Martinelli would win and he would win those second balls that Skip was winning. So look, I'm not going to hammer them. They were up 3-0 and they got a jammy goal. So I'm just happy that I got my prediction. But I don't know, Z, did you have any last thoughts on the second half and the game, I guess, as a whole, because you were there?
Yeah, first of all, like for me, like just being there was amazing, and I think I got really lucky just with the tickets, because I was actually the first row of near the corner flag, and I actually got an opportunity to verbally abuse Son, so that was great. But for me, the best thing was actually the energy from the fans and the players, and it felt like everybody was connected, and that was the main thing that I got from the game. It felt for the first time in a while that the fans, the manager, and the players were all connected, and it's like, for me, the way I was thinking, it was like there was a door that opened and we can see the end goal. And for me, that was that performance literally, the the performance literally just defined that in the first 35 minutes. And I feel like we need to be consistent in the next games. We should have the same energy, and believe it or not, we could go on a winning streak, and go a lot further ahead, man. I was genuinely really really excited, and at one point I think I almost cried as well. So it was a really good performance, man.
It was a catharsis, man. It was an emotional discharge from
I went
fans,
crazy.
manager.
Crazy.
Have you guys seen Mikel celebrate that way? And man, he was due that. I'm sorry. Look, we on this channel, we support the manager. We do. Not as some of us have some very questionable doubts, but on the par, I think we support the manager. And I just feel like this was a day for Arsenal, and we can stop the divide, man. Like, this was a big six performance, dominant big six performance. And it sets us up for the league because, guys, we have a very favorable run of fixtures coming up. And we capitalize on that. Oh, my God. Like, the amount of times that I'm going to rinse on the timeline being only 4 points off top four, by the way, guys. Facts. We're only 4 points
I don't, by the
off
way,
top four.
I think by the time we face Liverpool, we're going to be above a certain team. I'm not going to say the name of the team, but I think above a certain team, honestly. But
Just
George
say
got
it.
his prediction right, and rightfully so.
Sorry?
He deserves plaudits for that.
When Son scored, by the way, I was praying that it stays 3-1 and not 4-1. I was like, no, keep it as it is.
Yeah.
That's how I was at the
I
Wimbledon match.
will say it right. We are 4 points off, not fourth, but second.
Is it actually second?
Yeah, second, third, and fourth on the same, and fifth on the same points.
Great. Well, there you go. So, yeah, I don't know. It's craziness to draw conclusions on either way. So I'm going to keep the same energy, right?
Yeah,
just facts. If you're going to be very short-term correlation, I can do the same. 4 points off second. So let's see.
Yeah. George, on the predictions though, George deserves his plaudits. You got the 3-1 correct. I predicted.
Buddy, we beat them at Old Trafford. I don't know what you're talking about. We beat them at Old Trafford.
We beat
Ole hasn't beaten Arteta in the league.
Wait,
that's what I think you're saying.
The thing is, though, with that statement, there's no one you could know I'm talking about because he's beating all of them.
Yeah,
there is. Yeah.
He's beating all of them. So
I think Pat has he? No, he has.
Yes,
he has the FA Cup. My God, yeah.
He beat all of them. So, but I want to bring this up for George. No,
wrong one.
That's just the predictions. Run the table.
Actually, there's one manager that he hasn't beaten.
There we go. It just it looks so good.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Okay.
So guys, when we just a reminder to the comments, guys, I know we joke, but remember that there's going to be forfeits involved in this. So
Jesus Christ,
the table won't be the same, but just remember, guys, keep it legal. But yeah, get your forfeits kind of in the comments, and also make sure to like and subscribe as well if you want to see those. So yeah.
also, yeah, we've also said that when we hit 1K subs, we're gonna get George to do some form of TikTok dance. So send in your dances.
Send in your dances, guys. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see.
I've been sent some of them, but he's refused to do some of them because he doesn't think he has the caliber to do some of them. So
your boy has got the tools. I don't know if he's got the facilities anymore to pull some of those vids off. But yeah, man, we move.
Yeah, but this is true though. This is true. Before we go, this is true.
Wait, hold on. I swear I have one game left though.
This is true as well.
Yeah, but that's on your own volition.
Yeah, yo. I'm telling you right now.
That's your own fault.
I say this for two. I say this for 2 matches. Okay, the preview of Tottenham, I said it, and I had my bias out. United, it's worse. I hate United. Look, I think I don't know, Curran, you gotta maybe back me up here, but I feel like when you're kind of on this side of the age spectrum, United is a little bit more vile in hatred.
So first of all, you did not need to come for me like that.
I'm with you. I'm sending
Second,
like together.
shut
We're in the
up, man.
same.
You're like
That's the
5
second.
years younger
Aaron,
than me.
wait. That's
Shut
the
up,
second
man.
time because it was like you surely remember Henri's call. Second time. Second time.
No, but don't you think, mate?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, no,
United's
100%,
more of like
100%,
a
100%,
vile
100%.
hatred. I don't know about
It's
you.
bad, man. All I'm gonna say is, I'm telling you right now, November 30th, call for the hearse.
Yeah.
We are packing Ollie, and we're sending him to the job
Yes.
seekers.
No, I'm keeping quiet. I'm keeping that energy for
What I
them.
honestly hope is that we aren't the nail in the coffin, because I need.
No, it's gonna happen, bro.
need
I'm telling
him.
you. Have you
I
seen
need
their
him.
fixture list?
I even
Have you seen
posted
their
on the
fixture
timeline.
list?
I
They
need you, Ollie.
They're not
I
facing the top
need you.
6 until the end of October, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah, they haven't played the Big 16 yet. So for me, what I posted on Twitter was, Ollie, I need you.
Jesus
Bro,
Christ.
Start winning.
we're gonna go to Old Trafford and end them. And yes, but CK, bring that comment up again. We're gonna be unbearable. Bring it up again.
We are. I'm just telling you, no. Like, and by the way, like, guys, it wasn't even like unbiased. I was spinning straight facts in that preview too. By the way, like, it was a little bit mad in terms of the driving allegations on Hugo, but like straight facts.
There was nothing wrong,
King.
especially that combined 11. What was wrong with that? There was nothing wrong with that,
bro. You know what's
Literally
funny?
nothing.
He scored too. Like this combined 11 was hit. People sitting there telling me I got Vim, and I'm like, you idiots! This was the scoreline at the end. I call him. I kid. Guys, don't worry. This is I'll go back to my objective robot after Spurs, but they just bring this out of me. And United.
The thing is, right? The only way you could, the only one I would even think about would be maybe Romero for White. Maybe.
No, we're not talking
like at
right
a
now.
stretch.
So
the thing
preview.
we spoke about was Kane.
Exactly. Like I'm saying,
Willow debated that with George, but someone shut the other guy up, and Thierry was there to see it.
exactly, man.
Thierry was there to see it.
Bro, Kane. If it was Kane,
Awful.
if it was Kane of last year, fairs. But it's just not. He's just his head is in City.
No, I stand by my argument. Not got more goals in the total EPL. The one season he outscored him, he had malaria and had issues with his parents. In every other season, he outscores him. And even in this season, if you wanted to go short term, he's outscoring him. So, yeah, I don't know. You can pick and choose your arguments, but Oba's got more trophies, more goals across his career. He's got more goals since he's been in the Premier League. He's got more individual season wins over Kane. More golden boots.
He's got more points right now.
More points. I don't know what you want to do. We can talk other conversions, except for one 18-month period, not even one 12-month period where he was poor that he had malaria in his mother. But anyways, let's move because I think that's basically, I don't know. My final thoughts on it is just I'm just happy, mate. I'm not gonna go long.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that I think this was a statement win for the league. I think this was a statement win for this fan base that needed a little bit of oomph and a little bit of spine back, a little bit of pep in their step, because there was a lot of stuff said online that I just don't think was true. And look, I think finally the fans are back. The one thing I wanted to say was, I don't think we've talked, but Z, you can like back me up on this, but I haven't heard a atmosphere like that since Leicester, like through the TV. And even then, this was different. I felt
I was meant to be there, man.
I know, man, but like I still think like the performance to do it against your rivals like that, it gives you that extra bit of belief. You know what I mean? Like, because it means so much on an emotional level. And I just feel that this team gave a little bit of leeway in terms of what they're allowed to do.
For me, it wasn't just the performance, because performance and the atmosphere. I think obviously, because if you look at away games, our atmosphere is brilliant.
It's amazing, yeah.
But the thing is, what Arsenal fans need is something to hold on to. They need and they need a connection. They need something to, like something tangible to go on for
justifiably.
The game.
I might add, like justifiably. I don't want to act so elitist, but justifiably. But yeah.
No, so
I'm just go on, Quincy.
No, during the game, we saw our fans, establishing a quick relationship with Ramsdale, with Ben White setting the tone with that tackle, and then you're seeing what's his name, Gabriel, throwing his hands in the air, and the fans are able to load that up, and as soon as you see that, the fans are realizing what these players are fighting for us, and then that's when the connection is established, and it all comes in unison, and then you will see the atmosphere. It was amazing. It was so good,
Bro, through the
and
TV, I could hear them going, "Tottenham get battered everywhere they
exactly,
go.
yeah,
everywhere. Yeah.
Tottenham get
exactly.
battered everywhere they."
Right. So
That was
before we do go, a couple of things need to be said. So I'm going to pull up BBC Sport right now because some things need to be said right now. So, all right. So first of all, we'll start with the table, right? So we have the table here. So if you look at the table right now, we're what, 5 points off first, 4 points off second. But what I want to show you people is 3 teams. Arsenal, obviously, we know our fixtures. We've played City away, Chelsea at home, Brentford away before the international break, and then we've played Burnley away, Norwich at home, and Spurs at home. Yeah. So in that group, we have 2 Big Six teams, the 2 Champions League finalists, 1 Big Six.
I'm not. Tottenham are up there too. Tottenham are up there.
Three big teams, the 2 best teams in Europe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and what I'm going to put is a Brentford team that just had Liverpool and ran them very, very close, and Liverpool were meant to be one of the best teams in the league. And on that Brentford game, how many players do we have absent due to the COVID crisis? So, I just want to say one thing. So, you can say, okay, it's been a poor start, it's been an average start, whatever. Villa are above us. Oh, great. So, the first thing I want to mention is this team here, because Leicester City is just the revisionism that's going on right now is not okay. It's silly. So we're going to go back to August, and we're going to look at their fixture list. So they've played Norwich, West Ham, Wolves, and Man City. So in April and on August, sorry, they played Man City in terms of Big Six teams, and they've played Norwich, we played also Norwich, a relegation battling team, and 2, let's say, mid-table teams in West Ham and Wolves.
When did West Ham do that? Sorry, I'm just astounded.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, West Ham actually bodied them. Yep, and yeah, so and then they've currently played. So they played Burnley and drew, and they played Brighton and got battered 2-1. So in 6 games, let's sum up very quickly. They've played a relegation team in Norwich, two mid-table teams, Man City, and then Burnley, who are low mid-table, and Brighton, who are doing okay right now. And let's go back to the table.
7 points, I think.
7 points. Yeah, and this is a team that, let's not forget, is meant to be a top 4 contender who is better than Arsenal and are going to do great things because their recruitment is so great, and they're on 7 points. 7 points after 6 games. And you, man, told me that this team was meant to be some super team that's going to get top 4. Okay, calm. The next team we're going to go to is Man United. Because Manchester United are fugazi. They're going to finish 5th. Complete fugazi, okay? So they've played what? Leeds, battered them, fair enough. Southampton, a relegation battling team without Danny Ings, and drew. Barely got out of Watford with 3 points. Barely, right?
Wolverhampton, you mean, but yeah.
Wolves, sorry. What did I say? Yeah, so barely got away with 3 points. And then they've played Villa, lost. Sorry, Bruno, your penalty's going into space. And then they've played West Ham in the league and the cup, but the league is the one that matters. And they've played Newcastle, so they've played...
And West Ham missed the 95th minute penalty.
Yeah, exactly. So they've played Newcastle, who are battling relegation. They've played Southampton, that are battling relegation, and they've played mid-table teams.
I think the big thing with United too is like I think is when you look at who they've played, it's very much a false position. But we've been screaming about this in terms of their overperformance for quite a while
This is
right
what I'm
now, and the
saying.
fact of their tactics. But I think, look, to be a little bit objective here, we're not saying that this is going to be the narrative for the rest of the game. I think you don't really look at a table until at least 10 games in, and even then, it doesn't start to. It only starts to take shape at that point. But the big thing that I think, Curran, you really want to highlight is I moved Leicester kind of out of the equation, but really Manchester United, if you look at their upcoming fixture list and you look at our upcoming fixture list, like if you compare the type of teams, just look at Manchester United's fixture list because it's actually insane. Like it really is very, very poor.
Because they haven't played a Big Six team yet.
No, but
Big Six team that haven't played a Big Six
but
team.
they're all playing them, Chris. Like I think their easiest is Watford amongst an 8 or 10 game run of just absolute lunacy in terms of who that they're having to face, and it's just it's insane.
So they've got Villarreal. They've got Villarreal at home,
but they face Everton, Leicester, Atlanta, and when you keep going, then
Liverpool and Tottenham.
Go to November because it gets worse. I'm telling you,
they play Tottenham away as well.
And I think it's City, Chelsea, Arsenal, if I remember correctly.
And then it's Atlanta, City, Watford, Villarreal, Chelsea. And then Arsenal after that. Like guys, like okay, this is I think this is why I felt that up until December 4th, we would figure out whether or not Arsenal and United where they're at. Because I think by December 4th, which is when we play them, right? Like I don't want to quote myself. Or no, that's the 30th.
30th of November, yeah.
And then so December 4th is like the next weekend. We get a sense of the table, in my opinion, in terms of where we're going to go. Because this is a big run. So if United do slip in terms of how our predictions have gone, you're going to see it in this, or they're going to deserve praise for coming out of a really horrific run. But
George, there is a 2-day turnover between Chelsea and us. There's a 2-day turnover.
Oh, I know. It's not a good schedule. And like when you're looking at how they've started the group, by the way, like Villarreal, they're going to have to play well. Like their group, they've been really poor in the Champions League. It's not like they can throw away Villarreal.
Oh, they lost the first
game. Lost. So, that's what I'm saying.
19 shots.
So what I've been trying to say to people is, George and CK, all of you guys know where we all finish. We think most of us think that United finishing 5th, and my reasoning is that midfield is so poor and not good enough for a top 4 team, and you cannot play donut ball. You can't play 5-0-5 and expect to have a vacated midfield consistently
against these teams.
Yeah, when Corin says 5-0-5, he means the pivot drops in, so it makes a 5.
A 5 at the back,
shores up high, and then it's 5 attackers basically. That's how that's what happens a lot of the time. There's even the thread Corin made about it with a clip of it happening, of them having 5 in the back line and 5
against Wolves. It was horrible.
It happens a lot. It happens every game apart from Leeds, because Leeds.
But I think what you're going with it is that essentially United are in for what we predict to be a very tough run of fixtures, and then after that we enter a very easy run of fixtures comparatively. And I think both teams have a stress test of what the big critics are. So can United hold on to their ball strikers and get them over the line? Is that sustainable? Unlikely in my opinion, but that's the question. And then when you look at our fixtures, are Arsenal consistent enough to beat the teams outside the top 6 to carry that top 4 challenge, which I believe yes to that question. But it's still a hypothetical question that we're yet to answer. And so that absolutely is going to be one. I think a lot of people are sitting there very afraid of Villa. I'm actually not afraid of Villa. I'm afraid of Crystal Palace. I've always felt that this team struggles against transition forwards. And really, when you look at Villa, for me, it's not really Villa that I'm worried about, because we've got central compactness. It's Palace. It's when you look at the big possession teams that struggle against certain things. Ironically, City always struggle against United. Why? Pacey out balls with transition forwards that have excellent ball striking. That's Palace light in terms of what they offer and what possession teams and positional teams tend to struggle against. Villa are a little bit more possession. I think they'll try to take the game to you. They'll play ball.
They did it versus Newcastle when they're on 3-0.
Exactly. And so they'll play, and I'm not worried about that. I actually like when people play against us because we tend to do quite well.
We pick them off.
I'm going to finish off this
against Palace. Though, for me, what gives me confidence against Palace is who
their press,
who they lead. Obviously, I like Palace if you've watched our channel for a bit, you know I like Palace. But
Mm.
they do a 4-on-4 press, and that guy they leave in the one is
Kuyate.
very, very, very susceptible.
We'll be able to get around him.
Kuyate as a lone DM is gonna get something.
We're going to make him look like Højbjerg, I'm telling you right now.
And Messi scored versus PSG, but
Yes, he did score versus PSG. What worries me about there's a couple of things that worry me about Crystal Palace, and it's just I feel like if we try and go for sustained pressure consistently as we like to do, I feel like they have the outlets available to them to really hit us.
That's the thing. The outlets and they're physical. Like they're physical forwards. That's what we struggle against. So that's like, the danger for me. But also, again, guys, like with Tomiyasu, I don't fear as much with that because now I've got a third player in the spine to help out against that transition forward. Whereas before it was almost like, okay, Gabriel and Partey's going to be higher up, so he won't really be in that deep block to really hit him. But now we've got two pacey players, and I think Ben White will be well. But for me personally, I'm looking at Palace as really our big test of beating these top 6 teams because I think we do well against Villa type teams. I think we do well against your Watfords. We've shown how we do well against low blocks. The one thing I haven't seen. No, but I use it as like a relegation side of like a blip, right? I think we do well with blips. That's fine. I think we do well with low blocks. That's fine. I think we do well against teams that want to take the ball to you. That's calm. What I haven't seen consistently and what I always say is
transition,
mid blocks and transition teams. And so that's the one team beyond Manchester United because we slap them and make them our bitch every single time. But we tend to struggle against those type of teams. Like even Benfica, like when you do look at it, mid block transition forwards. That's what we struggled against. Olympiacos, I hate that guy, whatever, El Arabi. That's a transition physical forward. Like we struggle against that type of player. So look, we see consistency against that. I think that's another check mark. So I saw a dominant performance in Spurs, check mark. We see this consistency against.
They should be that. With what they have, they should be that. And what Mourinho tried versus us, but we did well against it. But Spurs are a counter-attacking team. Their best players are best in that role with Kane, Son using as outlets. But it is right. You are right in the sense that we need to prove ourselves against that because we've proven ourselves against the big teams, and now we've proven ourselves versus low blocks. But there is another type of team.
What it is for me, I'll sign it off. But before we do go, it's for me. I mean, shout out to House as well. It's Conor Gallagher. I think he's the main guy for Palace.
Shout out to me.
Like I really enjoy him, but obviously Zaha. I mean, I like Guehi, I like Anderson, I like a lot of their players, but they've got a good team. But I think we'll do them. But on that note, 600 subscribers. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone for subscribing. Keep subscribing, people. We're gonna keep going. Please like, comment.
Guys, wait 1 second before we sign off because there's some crazy news. I don't know if you guys know. David Seaman's doing a little bit of work with the Per Mertesacker.
I posted it in the group chat.
Yeah, bro. I'm just seeing it, but he's doing some informal coaching work with kind of the young goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Which is just awesome, man. I love to see that. He does, and you know what? I'm just a fan of those types of legends. People that just back the club regardless and are offering to help, but don't criticize for no reason, and they're actually showing up. So I don't know. I just wanted to give a shout out because David Seaman's my guy, man. Like
shout out to
love
you,
that,
Martin Keown. Shout out to you.
No.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna say it again. Thank you for subscribing. Follow everyone. Make sure you follow Willow, who can't be here today, but is with us in spirit today. But follow everyone. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you later.
Peace.
Peace.